welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is a psychotherapist and reclamation coach, founder of Headway Mental Health, no other than Mr. Joshua Dvorkin.
Hey Daniel, how are you today?
I'm fabulous, fabulous, Mr. Joshua. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Sure, my name is Joshua Dvorkin and I'm a registered psychotherapist with the College of Psychotherapists of Ontario and a reclamation coach, and I help professionals with disabilities, chronic illness, and other life transitions basically find new opportunities, possibilities, reclaim their stories without giving up alignment for their authentic selves.
Mr. Joshua Dvorkin, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering advocacy to come. And today, let's talk about resilience without romance, turning pain into possibility. Tell us what is all about.
So, resilience without romanticism is basically this concept where, um, you deal with life's hardest realities with honesty, dignity, and courage without sugarcoating the truth, right? So, too often, resilience is presented as this tiny little thing, um, this inspirational story or this hardship that automatically makes us stronger, while everything happens for a reason. Well, as comforting as these narratives may sound, they're not actually the way things unfold. I think um, there's it's important to tell the truth about trauma, illness, disability, and these major life transitions, right? So because basically it focuses on the this philosophy acknowledges that resilience is a process and that it doesn't always look pretty, right? So it's not about rising flawlessly from the ashes, but it's about taking those ashes with us and kind of, turning them into something different than what they actually are.
Something different for sure. And the phrase without romance is a proactive. How does your concept of resilience deliberately strip or just strip away the common idealized notion of what doesn't kill you, make you stronger, or bouncing back?
You've got it. So basically, the core principles of this philosophy are, honesty over illusion. So instead of romanticizing, this struggle, this approach um, insists on naming the pain for what it is. Healing starts with truth or denial, or, without denial, of calling things exactly what they are. They're is strength in imperfection. So it's not about perfection. It's not about constant progress. It's messy. It's very nonlinear the way things happen, and it's often invisible. Right? It shows up in very small steps, seeing like little tiny joys, one little thing at a time. And sometimes they may even be so small that at times we may not even notice them at all, right? So, um, next I think it's um, possibility over positivity. So, just even sometimes things may be moving, they may not even be moving forwards, they may be moving a little bit backwards, right? But it's just noticing that they're still moving, and it's as long as we're moving, right, we're alive. So, I think that's what's really important to remember, and as long as we have choice in the matter, right? So, um, there's grace without glossing over. So grace is essential, but not. I don't think it without the expense of authenticity. So we don't want to lose our authentic selves, right? Um, I think this philosophy really honors grief and anger and struggle alongside that of gratitude and hope, right? So, um, I think it talks about human dignity being first, and it's not about proving the worth or strength in others. It's about reclaiming dignity and the narrative sovereignty, even though conditions that society, often stigmatizes these things, right? So they might, claim disability or having being different. Um, you know, um, not being good. So it makes people feel less worthy of themselves when in in that's not really the case. It just gives us a different perspective or possibility to offer. So
What does resilience actually look and feel like a messy, painful middle of a crisis before any possibility is visible?
well, I think in the middle of a in the middle of a crisis, it's often difficult to see possibility, and I think support is definitely um, really good to have around. I know in 2004, I had an epileptic seizure, and I fell and landed on my head and broke my neck and became paralyzed from the waist down, and you know I think I credit a lot of my success to a statement that my brother said to me. He said, if you give up now, you're going to lose everything you've ever had, right? But at that point, I wasn't breathing on my own. I was on a ventilator, um, and it was really hard to imagine moving forward. But at that time, the doctor told me I'd probably never breathe on my own again, and I would probably always live in a 24-hour care facility. But I told him at that time that I said to him, mark my words, 10 days from today, I'm going to be off the ventilator. And I swear to you, 10 days from that day, I was off the ventilator. And then a year from the date of the accident, I was at home living in my own apartment. So um, I think like I said, it's important to take small steps, right? I mean, what I told you was just it seems like a lot to happen. It is a lot to happen, and now I own my own business, so um, it's just trying to stay positive, even when things seem really, as I said, messy and ugly. You know, so yeah.
Yes, indeed. Always be positive in everything. So, how do you help people navigate pain without forcing them to, well, find out the silver lining or reason for their suffering?
Sure. So I help people look at things that they value, right? So um, maybe they're doing something now that they can no longer do. So I might get them to explain to me the things that they value about the things that they're currently doing, and then we can look for those same sort of values in other things, and that's how we learn to find new opportunities and new possibilities that kind of align with the person's same goals or values or belief systems, right? So I always try to explain to my clients that what we one of my frameworks is called the belief framework, and in a nutshell, it's what we believe is true for ourselves is actually our own truth, right? So I really believe that if we have the belief that we don't deserve things and things are going to be more difficult for us, then most likely things are going to be more difficult for us to achieve, right? And I think that if we believe that we have a superpower no matter what our situation is and things are going to be more easy for us to achieve, then we're definitely going to come by things, I think, a little easier than somebody who thinks that those things are going to be more difficult to come by.
Definitely. Well, we have our own superpower, people. And how does a difficult emotion like anger or righteous indignation fit into the process? Can it be a fuel for transformation?
Absolutely. So, sometimes I teach people, how to let the anger fuel themselves, right? So instead of using anger in a negative way, how to channel anger in a positive way, right? Or sometimes I teach people different coping mechanisms to help them, release anger through um, focusing on different body exercises or mental exercises like practicing mindfulness. So, mindfulness based stress reduction, or, um, just learning to look at our emotions as a third person to recognize what things we think about really serve us and what things that we think about really don't serve us, so that we can try and let go of those limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves and our lives that really aren't allowing us to, get to the places that we want to and are maybe, keeping us stuck where we are. So,
Yes. Let it go to your limiting belief, people. Do what you can do and show to the world. When someone is deep in pain, their world shrink. How do you help them slowly expand their awareness to begin to see faint signals of possibility?
say that again. Sorry.
When someone is deep in pain, their world shrink. How do you help them slowly expand their awareness to begin to see faint
Ah,
signals?
I see. I see what you're saying. Sorry about that.
No
Um,
worries.
so basically, what I do is I teach them to. Um, I explain this process to them where, you know any situation that happens, the mind thinks that's what it does, right? So, um, if we're in a negative situation, the mind might think a negative thought, and based upon whatever thought we have, we trigger emotions are triggered. So based upon these thoughts and emotions, our body responds or behaves in specific ways, and based upon the way we behave, we have results or consequences, whether they're positive or negative. So um, if we can sit back and be curious about the way that we behave, then we can really learn to understand, where these behaviors are coming from, and the emotions that they're coming from, and then we look back and we see the situations that they come from, um, and that's how we basically begin to identify the roots of our behaviors.
Empowering answer, Mister. And how critical is it to find a community or few trusted people who understand resilience without romance? And how is it different from standard support groups?
Um, I think it's fairly easy to, find. I think community is important no matter what you do. What you do, I think community, gives you um, possibility and promise, right? That there's people that are like you, and that what you're feeling is normal. Um, and I think um, finding a mindful community. I think it's not really a separate type of community. I think it's just people um, going through loss together. And, you know, um, if you want to search out, say you're going through cancer, and you want to search out a cancer support group, I would probably do it that way. Or if you, have muscular sclerosis and say um, that was your diagnosis, I would search out my support group for people going through or being diagnosed with muscular sclerosis. So I would definitely do it on a case by case, specificity. Um, yeah, like that. And then you would find people, that are going through similar situations as you. And I think that you would probably be able to find, your best allies and best support in a group like that. So,
Best allies for sure. As a psychotherapist and reclamation coach, founder of Headway Mental Health, what are your short term and long term goals?
I can't hear you.
Mr. Joshua, as a psychotherapist and reclamation coach, what are your short term and long term goals?
My short term and long term goals. Well, my short term and long term goals are to short term are to help as many people as possible. I guess that's long term as well. I also would. I'm looking forward to publishing my first book shortly, um, with four specific frameworks that I've come up in the book. And I am also looking forward to becoming a public speaker, doing more public speaking. In the past year, I've consulted on a short term film and I've accomplished some other goals like that. So I've been pretty busy, which has been very great and very rewarding.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Joshua. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
For people like me, I would just say to work as hard as you can and help as many people as you can. I think, you know, that's the greatest thing that anybody can do.
Hmm. Yes. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Absolutely. So there is a book written. Hold on. There is a book, one of my favorite books, which is called Option B: Facing Adversity, Building Resilience, and Finding Joy by Sheryl Sandberg. She is the COO of Meta, um, and her husband died, and it's basically um, about how during one of the first times or worst times, sorry, in her life, um, she was able to, I guess, in my words, um, find um, resilience without romanticism, you know, and she defines those in her terms in her book. So
Thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Joshua. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in its fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast No 101 and mental health 101. Love Letters in third season, and my Movie 101 review and Music 101 in fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Joshua, if you could leave the audience or people watching right now with one truth about resilience that they should hold on to for the next inevitable challenge, what would it be?
yeah, I think with resilience, don't expect yourself just to bounce back right away. I think it's always important to feel everything that you need to feel in order to heal properly and to bounce back um, as strong as necessary, as strong as you possibly can, right? So,
Yes. The Mr. Joshua, thank you so much. Oh, Mr. Joshua Dvorkin, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Hoping for more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Yeah, sure. If you want to, you can follow me on Instagram at headway.mental.health, and you can DM me 7 day for learning how to cure your negative ways of thinking in 7 days is my gift to you.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Joshua Dvorkin because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Mr. Joshua, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.
Definitely.